Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. There you go. I said it with my outside voice and not my inside voice like last time. Folks, we're glad that you're with us here today for our show. If you're just joining in, we are broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios, brought to you this hour by Extreme Exteriors. And we would love to hear from you, your thoughts, your comments that we will take in from our that we screen and listen to on our hotline. The Where You Live hotline number is 952-224-2668. We'll grab your thoughts, your comments, play them on air, read them for next week's show. And also I'd like to let our listeners know here in the second hour, we've got a free resource for you. It's a bi-monthly newsletter called What's New. A lot of the topics we cover on the radio show are covered in further detail. Again, it's yours free for the asking. Give us a call, 952-922-2500. Ask for Courtney and make sure that you start receiving your free subscription. And we were talking in this last segment about what's happening in Chelsea, Massachusetts, where a homeowner association had a electrical mishap because of a power surge, because of a lightning storm that took out their monitoring system. Even though the fire sprinkler system still was working, the city of Chelsea dispatched a fire department to watch the building 24/7 for 2 weeks until the vendor was able to come out to make that repair. And now they got a bill from the city for $20,000.
$20,000. Now, the article says that most of the people involved with this situation agree that the fire department was following their procedure.
Yes.
What they're questioning is this procedure still necessary in this day and age when we have the redundancies of all the different layers of the fire system?
Exactly. And one other thing that I think is important to point out here, too, Tony, in the article here, it says here that behind the scenes, the city of Chelsea had initiated before this situation a review of this policy from the fire department or from earlier this summer, because there have been a number of grumblings from other property owners about having a fire detail
having to pay for fire detail. They said, though, this was an extreme example of the issue because it was such a high bill, $20,000.
I mean, we've seen that kind of thing. For example, if a fire department is called out, and they will be, even on a false alarm, there can be a cost of $500 a pop for a property to pay that.
To just pay for them responding.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so here you had the cost for a week, $10,000 a week.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to try and address what else could have been done.
Well, you've been through this situation. You've had this happen to you, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, a number of times. And what should have happened, how things could have taken place here. Number one, I think it begins with the city or municipality
and their ordinance.
Yeah, and we've been fortunate with the cities and municipalities that we've dealt with, because I think they've been very reasonable. While they do have a mandate to keep everybody safe, and we appreciate that responsibility that they take seriously, other things could have been done. One particular situation with a condo association, I know, allowed for the association to pay for a private security firm to just dispatch an individual 24/7 that was walking the property, walking the floors, making sure that everything was okay, and they would have called the fire department, would have made those calls had something happened. And that cost for one individual, of course, a lot less than it sounds like there were several firefighters stationed there 24/7 throughout the week.
So that was a more reasonable and economical way to monitor the situation. How about in a homeowners association? I mean, members can volunteer to take care of things on the property. How about forming a committee that would do this watch.
Yeah, I've seen that happen too, where the homeowner said, well, we appreciate that. We'd like to save money even more. We'll take turns, and we will establish with the fire department who's coordinating this effort, who the names are, and they've provided a schedule of who's watching to show that they're doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen, and now the cost to the association is only the time of the individual homeowners.
Right, that's right. And they could be volunteering their time. I suppose this would really depend, too, upon the situation, the age of the building, and what their fire system was like. Because we know that some older buildings, some parts are grandfathered in, maybe not in multi-housing so much. But if you've only got a 2-pronged fire suppression system, maybe you do need a fire detail there. But if you've got these triple and quadruple redundancies going on, it seems to me there could be some more reasonable ways to deal with it.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sometimes there is there is a redundancy in that you have one that is just monitoring to make sure that the monitor is on. So
okay.
we have buildings where that is the case, where and we'll get the call saying this monitor is down.
Yeah.
But the other monitor alarms are still up to notify the fire department
if there's a fire.
Notify the security company.
Because there's monitoring, which means the fire department gets something flashing on their board if there's a fire. There's alarms, which means a noise sounds, a horn, really a god-awful horn sounds.
Yeah.
And then there's the fire suppression with the sprinkler systems and all that. So there's lots of things going on. You brought up another thing that this particular association could maybe turn to over this $20,000 bill.
And it's the one thing that so few people seem to think about, and that is having this be a matter for an insurance claim.
Sure.
Every single homeowner has, as part and parcel of their homeowner insurance, and this is not just the HO6 for condos and townhomes. It certainly applies there, but just for the regular homeowner policy that a homeowner has, there is a clause in your insurance policy that states that if your home becomes uninhabitable for any reason as a result of a claim, and that would be an act and a specific act of nature, and this clearly was that, an act of nature.
That's right.
A storm had taken this out. Now it was unlivable, not because there was anything wrong with being able to live there, but the city said, we're not going to let you live there.
Unless we monitor. That's right. Right.
It would have been better for the city of Chelsea to have said, you know what, we're just going to require that everybody make other arrangements. Now, maybe they would have been there a day to give everybody time to have called their HO6 carriers to be able to make arrangements and to get that established. But they could have done that.
Yeah, but Gene, can you imagine the backlash you would get from your residents if that decision were made? I don't know. I think there would be people who would prefer to pay the $20,000.
Well, and I've done that on a much smaller case when we've had, for example, a fire, and the fire spread to 8 units. 8 out of 12 units in one building.
Yeah.
We're dealing with most people in that building, telling them you've got to go somewhere else.
Well, but in that case, their units were damaged and destroyed. I'm saying in this case, we're talking about something much less drastic than that. It would be hard for people to evacuate.
Here's the other thing that I find interesting, though, too, Tony, and that is what responsibility does the city have in this matter? I mean, I think of myself as a business person providing a service to clients and to customers. You have an obligation to let them know. I have an obligation to let them know what it's going to cost for my service. Here, there was no regard for anybody in the city to let people know what this cost would be.
That's right.
And so when they say, well, why are you upset with us?
We're just doing our job.
No, you're not. And part of your job, I think, is also to let people know what some of the consequences will be. Don't
disclosure.
You think?
I think so. I noticed, too, in this article, what's very interesting is they managed to get a couple of jabs in, one at the management company and one at landlords. They managed to include landlords in their list of evil.
Really? What do you got?
They said, well, the fire department said, Deputy John Quateri said, "We talked with the management company and they indicated that we should leave the detail here." So there's kind of that implication that the management company made this decision to spend $20,000 of the homeowners association money. I don't know that that's the case.
Yep.
Certainly the management company would say, do what you have to do, you
Yes.
know, right? Because we want people to be protected. And then at the very end of the article,
This is the thing that kind of got your hackles.
it got me. It got me. One of the board members says the reason the fire department in Chelsea gets away with this is because landlords are willing to pay these exorbitant fees because they don't want the fire department to come in their buildings because they're afraid the fire departments will find violations. So they'll just pay this money through the nose. And so because of that, the fire departments just charge everybody and they think nobody should care. He says, but we are owner occupants and we want to fix our violations and we're going to speak up about this. We pay an awful lot in taxes. Well, this just frosts me. Why would anyone think a landlord would be willing to pay $10,000 a week?
$10,000 a week. Are they making that kind of money?
Wow,
in
Chelsea, maybe the rents are that high. I don't know.
If they are, I want to buy a property in Chelsea.
Landlords have to comply with city ordinances. The city usually does not give the landlord any breaks on anything. And they control the landlord's licensing. So
if anything, less breaks. And I'll give you an example.
That's right.
Let's talk about the smoke detectors. If something doesn't work in your particular home, I don't know that the fire department is going to look at you, the homeowner, the same way as you, the landlord, if one of those smoke detectors aren't working.
That's right. We get regular inspections, and that's one of the things they're looking at. They want to make sure the smoke alarms work. So that means if your resident didn't replace a battery, you could be in trouble. If your resident pulled it off the wall because while they were burning their popcorn, it started ringing, the landlord can get in trouble. So that's a good example.
That just didn't set well. But clearly there are other things that could have taken place. And to the city of Chelsea, now that you're reviewing this because you've heard grumblings from a number of your residents there in that city, perhaps you'll take some of these things into consideration for just a better way of handling it.
Yeah.
Well, let's take another quick break. When we come back, let's talk about this next story. Where there is cigarette smoke in a condo, there is fire. Here on Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot.